We were curious about the topic too, which is why we took the time to think about it and share it with you.
According to the scriptures, the 8 articles form, with the threefold study, the essential way of practice. We read blind faith examples. To be truthful, both of us are too cynical to succumb a whole lot to blind faith. As we said, people have different styles, and we're more the rejecting types.
Your curiosity be a path to recreating your beginner's mind. Kamsahamnida.
Today is June 22nd. Thank you for coming and joining in the 7th Deliverance service for JooHee Warshaw, our dear Dharma friend, the beloved wife of Pete Warshaw. Through this gathering, we'll collect our minds and hearts to support JooHee's soul so she can fully emancipate it. First, let me share some parts of her life briefly. JooHee was born on February 5th, 1946, in the New York City to Clara and Teddy Doctor. She has an older brother, Andy. Julie grew up in the New York borough of Queens. Julie attended American University in Washington, D.C., majoring in English. She was active in the theater department and made friends that she kept her entire life. After college, she held a variety of secretarial jobs in New York City. In 1971, she met Pete Warshaw and moved to Salt Lake City to be with him. They were married on April 9, 1972. While in Salt Lake, Julie earned a master's in social work degree from the University of Utah. Later, Julie and Pete lived in St. Louis, the Detroit area, Toronto, and New York City. Along their life journey together, they had two wonderful children, Aaron and Leah. Julie retired from formal employment because of her health, but continued to serve as a volunteer gardener and earned a Master Gardener designation. Her home gardens consistently earned praise from the communities. In 2010, Julie and Pete moved to Chapel Hill and became practitioners at the Won Buddhist temple. Since Julie joined our temple, she was dedicated with her practice, joining weekend services, meditation retreats, and Dharma classes. She received her Dharma name as Won JooHee in 2014, which means joyful host of truth. Just like her Dharma name, she brought delightful inquiry energy to her practice. Since her first cancer diagnosis in 1994, she suffered several relapses over 26 years. Julie was being treated at UNC hospitals when she died peacefully on May 5th, 2020, with her husband Pete at her side.
release you to be free. Open your heart to see the truth. Be reborn to light up the world. Make one great vow with all your heart. As a Buddha, come back to us. Dear Julie, receive the sincere, true love offerings from your husband, Pete Warshaw.
Dear Julie, today marks the 49th day since you died on May 5th. This is the final deliverance ceremony and my final letter for it. However, I will continue to hold you close to me beyond any time I can imagine after my sadness fades. You were sick for a long time, but you didn't allow it to define you. You were surrounded by illness and it never went away. Even when you were feeling well, there always was a distant drumbeat of a possible relapse, which often occurred. But within that, you filled your life with Aaron and Leah and our grandchildren, friends, gardens, books, ideas, travel, and all sorts of exploration. With every setback, you recentered yourself to those experiences you loved, as much as your body would allow. I am so blessed to have been at your side, in your arms, throughout it all. You were first diagnosed with cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, in 1994 when we were in Detroit, 26 years ago. It was really scary for both of us, and the chemo was rough on you. A major blow was losing your hair. You tried a couple of wigs, but found them too hot and uncomfortable, so you wore a hat. Just after your treatment was over and you had grown back a 1/4 inch of hair, we went out to lunch to celebrate. During our meal, you said, "To hell with it," and took off your hat. Just then our waiter, whose head was shaved, came by and said spontaneously, "Great hair." We both could have kissed him. 5 years of remission. Then in 1999 in Toronto, a relapse and more chemo and also radiation. Inside a Canadian health system that is not as terrific as politicians make it out to be. But you got through it and your hair grew back again, this time in a different color and texture. 7 more years of remission and we were back in New York. Even when you were feeling well, you always had regular oncology appointments since relapses are common and early detection is critical. This time, early stage breast cancer, 6 weeks of radiation. 9 more years of remission, including our move to North Carolina in 2010. But in 2014, we started feeling symptoms again and were diagnosed with another relapse of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Things were now getting dicey because there were limits to how much chemotherapy a person could tolerate in a lifetime. So the treatment plan was a stem cell transplant. This meant harvesting your own stem cells, blasting you with high-dose chemo to kill all the cancer cells and wipe out whatever immune system you had, and then reintroducing the stem cells to grow healthy cells in your bone marrow. This was higher risk and involved a 1-month stay in a special unit of the hospital. Previously, your remissions had lasted several years, and these were times of energy and activity. But this time you were sick again in just 7 months, and you never were healthy again. Now our primary focus was on how you were doing that day. The goal was to extend your life rather than expect a cure. As your wonderful oncologist Hank described it, we were in the wild, wild west of cancer treatment, so each setback resulted in uncharted decisions. He also told you, "This is not the first time you surprised me." Your days were consumed with doctor's appointments, unscheduled hospital stays 3 to 4 times per year, rushed trips to the emergency department, and exhausted time on the couch when you could hardly walk across the room. You enrolled in a clinical trial in 2016 that was effective for some time with your cancer, but permanently damaged your kidneys. From then on, you also needed dialysis. Over the next 3 years, your treatment included infusion of high-dose chemo, 18 blasts of radiation for a tumor in your neck, and then oral chemo intended to help keep you going. You felt wiped out most of the time and sick much of it. Your weakened immune system was unable to beat back a host of viruses. Your low platelet count resulted in nosebleeds that didn't clot for hours. A 2-hour lab visit could turn into 7 hours of transfusions, or even a hospital admission. Your veins had been stabbed so many times that drawing blood always was a painful adventure. The record was 15 sticks before they found a vein that would work. Throughout all of this, you never lost your essence. You never complained. The most anyone heard was a wistful, "Isn't it someone else's turn?" Each setback, large and small, was greeted with, "Oh well," and then you moved past it. When you were too weak to attend the temple services and we started holding a Dharma study in our home, you told people, "I can't move around a whole lot, but I can talk." And when you were feeling that the end was in sight, you said you'd be pissed if you weren't around to vote. We both lived day to day. As your partner and your caregiver, I was focused on what you needed now and what you might need next. Only in the abstract did I consider how your years of illnesses and treatments accumulated on you and on me. A few days ago, this came into sharp focus when I reread all the updates I had sent to family and friends on a wonderful website, Caring Bridge. Cancer and kidney failure were always a concern, but you also were battered by other conditions caused by your almost non-existent immune system. This year, any resilience was gone. Your blood counts had dropped and were not bouncing back even with transfusions. Your body was wearing out, and this was confirmed with a diagnosis of myelodysphatic syndrome, MDS. Essentially, the cancer was preventing your stem cells from manufacturing healthy blood cells. And here was the most extreme roller coaster of all. March 15th, diagnosed with MDS. April 5th, you started a clinical trial specifically for kidney patients with MDS, and it was right here at UNC, our only hope. April 8th, coming off a terrible weekend, you received MDS chemo and also blood and fluids. April 20th, increasingly weak. April 30th, you got a sinus infection and spiked a fever, leading to your admission to the hospital. Also, your kidney dialysis was taking longer than usual. While there, you had a bone marrow biopsy to see if the clinical trial was doing any good. We expected it to produce a death sentence. Next day, May 1st, Leah's birthday, and fantastic news. The results of the biopsy showed no evidence of cancer in your bone marrow. It was a miracle. The plan now was to restart the clinical trial as soon as you got over the virus, hopefully in the next 2 days. Kidney dialysis was still a problem. Next day, May 2nd, complete kidney failure, a decision to move to end of life. May 5th, 3 days later, you stopped. One of the worst moments of my life was when you were admitted through the emergency department on April 30th, and I couldn't go in with you due to their COVID-19 no visitor policy. I helplessly watched you being wheeled into the hospital, thinking that might be the last time I would ever see you. For the next few days, we communicated regularly by phone and text. You weren't doing great, but it seemed no different from what I had watched before. And the positive news about the bone marrow biopsy made me think we had dodged another one. But on May 2nd, I received your text. Tell Hank, your oncologist, tell Hank I need help. I called immediately. You were distraught, but I couldn't understand about what. Fortunately, Hank came in to see you shortly after that. Your kidneys had failed. It was the end. Your plea was about that. I'm done. Turn it off. Turn it all off. Fortunately, the hospital had an exception to their no visitor policy when neither patient nor visitor is contagious and the situation is end of life. Hank made the arrangements, and I was permitted to go in. For the next 3 days, I didn't leave your room except for a 10-minute run to the hospital door to pick up some clothes that BJ and Marie had gotten from me. You were sleeping most of the time, but you knew I was there. We spoke in brief moments, and I caressed your head and rubbed your feet. I held your phone to your ear while you said goodbye to Aaron and to Leah. At one point you told me in true JooHee fashion, life goes on, but I'm not. You also got upset whenever you woke to discover you were still here. You were ready. Hank came in to see you each day. The nurses left us alone but checked if either of us needed anything. On the morning of the 5th, you were sleeping most of the time. I was at your bedside when you opened your eyes and said your last. I love you. Hold my hand. I can't believe I'm still. You slept into the evening. Gradually, your breathing changed, and it was clear that you were dying. You took 3 deep breaths and stopped. I kissed you and gently held your head. and smiled through it. A short while later, I drove home alone.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, from head to toe, relax, relax. Deliverance chant. JooHee, Won JooHee. May you attain eternal life as heaven and earth do, perpetually shining, even with the extinction of all things. Awakening to this way of coming and going is an everlasting flower. Every step you take and everything you do will become holy Dharma. 전영지 영고장생 만생멸도 영고장생
Please be seated. Dharma words for guiding the soul. Today it will be offered in Korean. When it comes to offering our prayers to the departed spirit, the language and words are not important. It is more significantly valuable how much focused energy, sincere minds and hearts are present at this moment, sending our calm, clear, good intentions to JooHee, Warshaw. May our hearts, minds rest in these Dharma words so our energy can support JooHee's complete deliverance. 열반 전후에 후생길 인도하는 법소 원 주희 영가시여 정신을 차려 부처님의 법문을 잘 들으소서. 이 세상에서 영가가 선악간 받은 바 그것이 지내간 세상에 지은 바 그것이요. 이 세상에서 지은 바 그것이 미래 세상에 또다시 받게 될 바 그것이니 이것이 곧 대자연의 전업이라. 부처와 조사는 자성의 본래를 각득하여 마음의 자유를 얻었으므로 이 천업을 돌파하고 육도와 사생을 자기 마음대로 수용하나 범부와 중생은 자성의 본래와 마음의 자유를 얻지 못한 관계로 이 천업에 끌려 무량고를 받게 되므로 부처와 조사며 범부와 중생이며 귀천과 화복이며 명지장단을 다 JooHee 영가께서 짓고 오진나이다. 원 JooHee JooHee 영가시여 일체만사를 다 영가께서 짓는 줄로 이제 확연히 아시나이까. JooHee 영가시여 또 들으소서. 생사에 이치는 부처님이나 영가나 일체 중생이나 다 같은 것이며 성품 자리도 또한 다 같은
본연 청정한 성품이며 원만 부족한 성품이외다. 성품이라 하는 것은 허공의 달과 같이 참다른 허공에 홀로 있건만은 그 그림자 다른 일천공에 비치는 것과 같이 이 우주와 만물도 또한 그 근본은 본연 청정한 성품 자리로 한 이름도 없고 한 형상도 없고 가고 오는 것도 없고 죽고 나는 것도 없고 부처와 중생도 없고 허무와 정멸도 없고 없다는 말도 또한 없는 것이며 유도 아니요 무도 아닌 그것이나 그 중에서 그 있는 것이 무의와 자동적으로 생겨나 우주는 성주계공으로 변하고 만물은 생로병사를 따라 육도와 사생으로 변화하고 1월은 왕래하여 추야를 변화시키는 것과 같이 줄리 영가에 육신 나고 죽는 것도 또한 변화는 될지언정 생사는 아니오다. 줄리 워샤 원 주희 영가시여 이제 이 성품 자리를 확연히 깨달아 아르셨나이까. 또 들으소서 이제 영가께서 이 육신을 버리고 새 육신을 받을 때에는 영가의 평소 짓던 바에 즐겨하여 애착이만 있는 대로조차 그 육신을 받게 되나니 그 즐겨하는 바가 불보살 세계가 승하면 불보살 세계에서 그 육신을 받아 무량한 낙을 얻게 될 것이요. 또한 그 반대로 탐진치가 승하고 보면 그곳에서 그 육신을 받아 무량겁을 통하여 놓고 우수한 고를 얻을 것이외다. 듣고 들으시나이까. Dear Won JooHee, 줄리 워샤 영가시여 영가께서 이 77제식을 당하여 더욱 마음을 견고히 하소서. 만일 홀이라도 애착 탐착을 여의지 못하고 보면 자연히 악도에 떨어져 가나니 한 번 이 악도 악도에 떨어져 가고 보면 어느 세월에 또 다시 사람의 몸을 받아 성현의 회상을 찾아 대업을 성취하고 무량한 회복을 얻으리요. Dear deceased, Julie Warshaw, Won JooHee 영가시오. 듣고 들으셨나이까? The Bodhisattva of great compassion when deeply practiced Prajnaparamita realized that all cause aggregates unity, thus became free from all suffering and distress. Shariputra form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. The same is true of sensations, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness. Shariputra, all dhammas are empty. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease in emptiness. No form, no sensations, no perceptions, no impulses, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no form, no eye, no tongue, body, no mind, consciousness, no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, no old days and death, no extinction of death, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva realized Prajnaparamita, therefore the mind has no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Free from illusion, one dwells in nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future rely Prajnaparamita in supreme enlightenment. Therefore, Prajnaparamita is the great mantra, is the great enlightening mantra, is the unsurpassed and unequaled mantra, which is able to eliminate all suffering. This is true, not false or proclaimed. Prajnaparamita mantra, which says, Won
Love offerings from Julie's niece and nephew, Marie and BJ.
Hi, Julie. I think mostly what I'm feeling today is gratitude. I think that we only got glimpses of how much he went through over years fighting your illnesses. And as I said a few weeks ago, it's always been so life-affirming to see you handle those challenges with such grace and poise. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for you and for Pete. But I'm so glad that we had so much time with you. And we'll always remember you. We love you very much. I'm very thankful for having had you in our lives. Also, thank you to Won and to the temple for giving us these Deliverance Dharma links and providing a place to contemplate and think. It's been really hard during coronavirus for the family not to be able to get together, and I hope that we're able to do so someday and remember you all together in the same place.
Very briefly, because I have a fear of public speaking, I told Nancy shortly after you passed about a memory that I had where we were in Carborough one afternoon and a town eccentric came up and saw you and gasped. And he held your hands and he looked in your eyes and he said, "You are a white dove." And that brought me a lot of comfort. It was like he could just see you in your purest form. So be free, white dove. We'll miss you.
Now, temple friends, you're welcome to take a moment to dedicate your offerings, either with the silence, or if you feel moved to say any words, you're welcome to so as a final farewell greeting to Julie.
Dear Julie, I keep having this one image of you. It was one of the afternoon Dharma discussions at your home, and you were nestled in the corner of the couch with at least one dog by your side, possibly two, and you are contemplating your death and wondering what it would be like. So from this temple community, you're the first person I know who's made that transition, and you've done so gracefully. You've been a teacher for us all. So thank you for helping us plan our own journeys. May blessings continue to flow toward you and infuse you wherever you are, always.
Dear JooHee, something I noticed and appreciated was, as your illness took away your capacity to do most things, you never withdrew from life. But now, I, Won JooHee's son, ship of Deliverance, will say a prayer for your safe passage, which is not a passage, to the other shore. Now indeed it becomes someone else's turn. The brightness that I loved in you, I see shining now in all things.
Dear JooHee, no coming, no going. Those are easy words to say, but this sure feels like a going to me. I wish you, or I found myself wishing, you could come back, just like maybe for a year. We would make good use of that time, because you would share even more of your wisdom with us. Thank you for your being.
Dear JooHee, thank you. Your time spent at the temple touched many, myself included, and your vibrant energy and questioning mind served as a fantastic role model for me, and I'm sure for others. I always felt like you showed me how much of a skeptic I usually was, and what healthy questioning was. Thank you.
Dear friends, please join your palms and join your to offer our invocation. Invocation Prayer. Today, June 22nd, we are here to honor JooHee Warshaw, Won JooHee, on the 49th day since her passing, the final deliverance service. With the pure spirits and concentrated minds, our One Temple community offers this invocation prayer in honor of JooHee, beloved wife of Pete Warshaw, who is being lovingly supported by his niece and nephew, Marie and BJ, and Dharma friends, Kathleen, Nate, Patty, Lara, Nick, and Sandy. JooHee Warshaw was born in 1946 and peacefully died in her sleep on May 5th. JooHee was open-minded, good-natured, and engaging. She dedicated to her family and loyal to her friends. JooHee was bright and witty until the last moments of her life. She was a strong person who was very much herself, even in the midst of her long journey through illness. JooHee Warshaw was an inspiring model for living fully and letting go gracefully with a clear and calm spirit. Through fond memory and affection, JooHee's niece, nephew, and her Dharma friends joined their hearts in remembrance and gratitude. Through the grief and acceptance of loss, Pete Warshaw has been wholeheartedly taking the journey of this transition these past 49 days. Pete and JooHee were married for 48 years, raised 2 children, Aaron and Leah, who are now in their 40s with their own children. Pete and JooHee lived together in 4 states and 1 Canadian province and traveled all over the country and around the world. They traveled always together as wife and husband, companions, spiritual explorers, and Dharma friends. What a blessing for Pete to deeply reflect on his genuine experience of love and appreciation for JooHee. Pete Won JooHee cherishes one spiritual human being who was with him for 5 decades. And with a full heart, he will continue to reflect with gratitude on those times and memories with JooHee. Dear JooHee, through Pete and your children, you are with us. Your children are a continuation of you. In this infinite grace of parents, you are the root of existence for your children and for many generations ahead. Your practice and presence was a special gift to our temple and all who knew you. On this final day of JooHee, your deliverance service, we honor you for the person you were and is. We thank you, dear JooHee, for sharing your life. In our open universal consciousness and the cycle of rebirth, we are with you. As Dharma brothers and sisters, we hope to practice together again. O Dharmakaya Buddha fourfold grace, please observe all the good that JooHee Warshaw accomplished in a lifetime of 74 years. Bestow upon JooHee's spirit and her family and friends the light and power of Dharma so they can abide with a clear view of life and death. Wherever JooHee is, may she receive the heartfelt offerings and prayers from Pete, her children, and her friends. May JooHee's spirit rest in comfort and freedom and be guided to the light of infinite wisdom and compassion. If any confusion or delusions blind the way, please guide her soul to be free from obstruction, completely emancipated, resting in nirvana. May JooHee Warshaw, Won JooHee, be free. and embraced by infinite love. This we pray wholeheartedly and dedicate with the full bows. No coming, no going, none after, no before. I hold you close to me. I release you to be so free, because I am in you, and you are in me. Because I am in you, and you are in me. Now, as our farewell smiles, farewell blessings, please walk to the altar, dear friends, and take a moment. Everybody stay where you are at. So, just one person at a time, take a moment, and then you can exit. So why don't BJ and Maurice go ahead and start. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. 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 Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Amitabha.
the